Okay, so this is Leo. We're going to start all over again with Leo from scratch. Okay, so for the Leos, the Cancer 2020 degree eclipse is going to happen in your 12th house. Now, the 12th house is, it's a bit of a mystery, but the 12th house basically comes down to your deep psychological feelings, emotions, your past. It's kind of it's hidden. It's stuff that you aren't even aware of. It's your deep subconscious stuff. So many times we talk about it in a karmic way, like that it's stuff from our past, coming from the past. So there may be incidences, especially emotions. It's a Cancer eclipse. It's about emotional growth. So there are going to be issues around home, family, mom, because it's the sign of Cancer. And anytime you see the sign of Cancer, the 4th house, remember the words home, family, mom. These all resonate deeply with that sign. Now, this could also pull in, like I mentioned before, things from past life, things that choices you've made in your past, lives you've lived, or for some people, it's easier to look at it in regards to terms of family history, family lineage. You could do it that way. It's basically the energy is here. Understand it however you want to understand it. Label it whatever way you're comfortable labeling it. But recognize that this has to do with this history that is so deep that it is unknown to you because it's in your 12th house. So it's deep emotional things about family, mom issues, which could be terms, could be things about your ability to be a mom or not be a mom. Just all the mom stuff, all the home stuff, the tribe, where I belong. So when we think back about all of that in our life, it's hard because it's the 12th house. We're thinking back and we're like, okay, I'm empty. There's nothing there. Especially if we're going to talk about to have words and meanings when it's associated to past life stuff. Well, how is that possible? Am I recommending you do some like past life counseling, that you go and see somebody to have them retrieve? I'm not a big believer in that. It's not to say I don't believe in past life. Astrology is kind of based on that. It's kind of based on the soul's experiences, and that would be a culmination of past experiences. And each incarnation, each time the soul takes in the body, it is a new life in the physical, on the material plane, which means, well, it must have lived another time, another place, in another body. Whether you believe it or not, I guess it doesn't really matter if you find value in the dates and the degrees and the meanings. And if you've seen things, if you've seen the product, if you've seen how it turns out, if it jives for you, then that's all that matters. But getting back to understanding the 12th house, it's Christ consciousness, it's sacrifice. A lot of times it has to do with hospitals and institutions and things that society doesn't usually like to talk about, things where we have things that are just hard to deal with. And so we don't normally, they're not, something that you have, discussions about. They're very heavy topics. They're things that, back in the day, we used to just take people and put them away somewhere, right? They were mentally ill or mentally unstable. And the 12th house has a lot to do with our mental health. It's the house of our deep psychology. So deep, it is perhaps hidden from us. So that then leads me to the next part of the 12th house, where a lot of astrologers talk about it in ways where it is the house of self-undoing. Self-undoing meaning there are things about us that we aren't aware of, and therefore those things that we're not aware of have the ability to control us to some degree because we're not aware of these actions that we have or these emotions or these thoughts that we carry and that we play like this broken record on. And energy is a boomerang. By being unaware, we could then be self-sabotaging ourselves, right? What you throw out comes back. You got to be careful. So for a Leo ascendant and the Cancer eclipse at 20 degrees, if you have something there, you'll know because it'll have already occurred. But basically, a lot of people say that when it's a 12th house thing, you may not even be aware of it because it is the house of the unaware. It's something that it's happening on a subconscious level. And if that's the case, well, then how am I supposed to be aware of it? It's just remember, family, home, your tribe, mom, this is all in your 12th, and you'll figure it out because of the fact that if there's an eclipse represents a spot, an energetic point. Think of it as a button, though. okay? And that button, every time a planet comes around, it literally presses that button. Now, if you don't have anything at the 20 degrees, I wouldn't be overly concerned because likely nothing will occur. But if you have something at that point, and this could be an asteroid as well, what will happen is a planet will combine, it'll press it, and it'll bring this issue up again in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a communication, whether it's a conversation. But typically, because it's the 12th house, let's not forget, this is dreams. It is, 12th house is ruled, dreams is all, that's the Pisces house. It is dreams. It is also hidden addictions, and that is a big part of the words self-undoing. Hidden addictions. Be aware if you have addictive behaviors. I think we all, in some way in our life, have certain behaviors that we are dependent on, that we do repetitiously, and we are probably unaware of. This would be about our deep emotional stability. And remember, it's emotional growth is what this eclipse was going to represent. So therefore, something in our deep psyche will be brought up. Is going to be for the good in general. Usually doesn't feel like good immediately, but when you get down the road, it starts to surface as, oh, now I get it. Now I understand. Because I had to go there, I was able to be here. Because I had to do that, I am now able to do this. It's one of those things where you got to take 2 steps to the left, a step to the right, maybe even a step backwards before you can get 5 steps forward. It's one of those things. Now let's talk about Uranus for you, Leo. Uranus is going to be on the 10th, same day as the eclipse. Uranus is going to stand still. So Uranus, again, shocks and surprises, revolutionary energy. It's all about progression. It's astrology. It is all about humanity. It's all about how we can serve. Okay, the greatest good for all, that is an 11th house thing. That is a Uranian thing. That is Aquarian. For you, this is going to happen in your 10th house. I've heard from a lot of Leos who said a lot of great things have already happened. They've already had, job changes that meant more money. They've had work that maybe they haven't had work in a while. I've seen and heard a lot of really positive things for Leos. Now, Uranus standing still, 2 degrees, 2.5 degrees, all right, 2.37 or something like 2.39. If you have anything, the fixed degrees, between 0 and 4 degrees. So if Taurus is being squared, it's your ascendant and your descendant. So your 7th house and your 1st house. So myself and my significant one-on-one relationships. Now, Taurus, 10th house, Uranus, right? When Uranus stands still, if you have your ascendant or your descendant at 0 or 4 degrees, that Uranian energy is going to make an impact on you. And it might not feel so hot. So for some people, they had some bonus energy going on because that meant they had great things happening between 0 to 4 degrees. That means they had supportive energy in earth signs, which would have been Virgo, which would have been Capricorn. And those are the folks that got the job. Those are the folks that got the raise. At the same time, something else may be occurring because I recognize the month, January 2020. There's 2 eclipses this month, right? So we're going through some okay, 1 minute I'm up here, the next minute I'm down here. 1 minute I'm over here, then I'm over here. We're going to be getting conflicting information, and things could be changing fast because Uranus is involved, and Uranus likes to shake shit up. So I'm going to try to re-clarify this, and maybe I'll just delete the whole front end of the video. So for a Leo ascendant, Leo risings, 20-degree Cancer happens in the 12th house of the hidden, my deep psyche, my deep psychological, emotional world. My deep psychological thoughts, stuff we're not even aware of, all right? That would be 20 degrees Cancer. If you have something there, you're going to know it. You're going to feel it. Something will occur in your life. Something that comes from out of the blue will happen and will pull up some stuff that will challenge your mental stability because the 12th house is our mental house. 6th house is our physical health. 12th house is our mental health, which is why they used to say back in the day, the 12th house was the house of institutions, right? Mental institutions. People who we didn't know how to deal with in society, we would put them away, and they would put those people and that building itself in the category of the 12th house. So typically something occurs to challenge your mental well-being, to challenge your mental emotional stability. It's going to be around family. It's going to be around home. I do not think that there's any coincidence that when we look and we understand a global scale of what's going on our home, a global scale, our home would be our country where we live as a family, right? Anybody who's a United States citizen, you're in the States, right? And we're a family on that level. And in our world. Today is January 8th now, and some major stuff has been going down. And it's disturbing, right? It's very disturbing because even though we are in the United States, and this is where I am right now, and this is my family, right? Because we're all here, the reality is our larger family is Earth, folks. So we all have to live here. We all have to figure this out. And it should be the 11th house and the 12th house stuff. We have to figure out how to coexist together, right? What's going to be best for Earth, because she feeds us. She nurtures us. She supports us. And we all feed off of her. She is the mother of all of us that live here. I'm hoping, and I'm going to start really focusing my thoughts on somehow, some way that we can coexist without fighting. Now, let's get back to Leo. For Leos, Uranus going direct, Uranus standing still in your 10th house. You got surprises. A lot of Leos had some good events happening in the end of 2019, the last 6 months, because Uranus was there and Uranus stopped and then reversed. Well, now Uranus is stopping and going forward. When the energy stands still, it intensifies. So if there is anything in your chart that is in the fixed signs of either Scorpio or Taurus between 0 and 4 degrees, you're gonna feel this, and it might not be so hot. It actually will be a stress. It'll cause tension. Now, this would be coming from your yourself, actually, your own worlds, because it would be your ascendant and your descendant. So your significant one-on-one relationships and self. If you have anything at 0 and 4 degrees on the ascendant or the descendant, or any planets, then they would actually be sending a square or receiving a square from Uranus when it stands still on the 10th. Let me see what else is for Leos in the outlook for January. What I do want to mention, though, really quickly, other than the Uranian effect, is that folks in general, there's so much Capricorn energy going on that the eclipses for 2020, I don't know if you've heard it yet, but there's 6 of them in 2020. So when 2020 comes around, well, I mean, we're already here, but 6 of them in 2020. By June, we have one on June 5th. Then we have another eclipse on June 21st. And we have another eclipse after the June 21st eclipse. We have one immediately July 5th, right? The day after our Independence Day in this country, there's an eclipse. 3 eclipses within like a 4/5 week time period. That's a lot of change, a whole lot of change. 2020, down the road, when we look back and we retrospect and we think to ourselves, man, when did this all begin? We're going to know, we're not even going to have to think hard. We're going to realize immediately 2020 was the year of endings and beginnings. There's so much change that we're going to be facing this year. The only way for us to get through this is to really know where our place of peace is, to understand that what we send out comes back, and to think and remember, divided, we fall. United, we stand. And with that, Leo, I hope this helps. I'm out. Bye.